The latest now on the impeachment trial of President Trump. The House managers will wrap up their case against the president today after using the president's own words against him yesterday and taking on the president's argument by mounting their strongest defense yet of Joe Biden. Our senior congressional correspondent Mary Bruce is on Capitol Hill. And Mary, the big question, are these arguments making any impact on Senate Republicans?
Well, George, I can tell you from spending time inside the chamber that many Republicans are paying close attention. They are taking detailed notes, following closely as the Democrats make their case. Now, some I've talked to, some Republicans say they are frustrated that they've heard this all before. But many Republicans admit the Democrats are giving them things to think about.
If right doesn't matter, we're lost. If the truth doesn't matter, we're lost.
Overnight, Democratic prosecutor Adam Schiff with an emotional appeal.
You know that what he did was not right. No Constitution can protect us. Right doesn't matter anymore.
A passionate conclusion after Democrats hammered their case for 8 hours.
When it came down to choosing between the national interests of the country and his own personal interests, his re-election, President Trump chose himself.
The Democrats zeroing in on the timing, saying Trump didn't start pushing Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden until 2019, right when the polls showed the former vice president was his biggest threat.
Those polls do show a powerful motive that Donald Trump had, a motive that he didn't have the year before or the year before that.
Trump's now infamous phone call with the Ukrainian president was in July of 2019, 2 years after Trump took office, but just 3 months after Biden entered the race.
Even President Trump knew there was no basis for this investigation, never once raised the issue. It wasn't until Biden began beating him in the polls that he called for the investigation.
Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia then set out to dismantle the White House's repeated allegations against Biden.
The allegations against Vice President Biden are groundless. There is simply no evidence, nothing, nada, in the record to support this baseless allegation.
Trump's legal team argues abuse of power is not a crime and therefore not impeachable.
The actions of the president do not reach that level. You still have to meet basic fundamental constitutional obligations, and they haven't.
But members of Trump's own defense team and his attorney general, Bill Barr, have argued the opposite, that you don't need a crime to impeach. Democrats even playing this old video of Trump's top ally, Senator Lindsey Graham, from the Clinton impeachment trial.
I think that's what they meant by high crimes. Doesn't even have to be a crime.
Democrats now have one more day to make their case. Some Republicans say they've had enough.
They start repeating themselves as if you could impeach by just kind of repeating the same thing.
But other key Republicans are listening closely. Senator Lamar Alexander saying the Democrats have done a good job presenting, and we have a lot to consider. Democrats now hopeful it's a sign they're persuading some Republicans to support their case.
Now it is up to us to do something about it, to make sure that this president cannot pursue an objective that places himself above our country.
Democrats now have 8 hours left on the clock. Then tomorrow, according to the current schedule, it will be the Trump team's turn. They will then have 3 days total to make their case and respond. But, George, sources tell us that they may opt for a shorter session on Saturday so they can make the bulk of their argument next week when more people are likely to be tuning in.
Okay, Mary, thanks. Let's bring in our chief White House correspondent, John Karl, for more on this right now. And John, we did see the Democrats yesterday really talk about Biden more than they have before because they want to take on the president's claim that he was pursuing corruption, not going after a political rival. And his lawyers yesterday suggested this could backfire on the Democrats?
Well, absolutely, because they think this is an opening. You can bet, George, that when the president's team comes to make their case, a big part of the case will be to eviscerate Joe Biden, to take on Joe and Hunter Biden. They believe that in making this defense, the Democrats have basically called for this. So you will see the president's team say he did nothing wrong, even if he did what's alleged, it's not impeachable, and then a bulk of this presentation to be taking on Joe Biden.
And Mary just said, we think now this session is likely to happen tomorrow, but the White House has been kind of all over the map on that, even suggesting at some point that they didn't want to meet on Saturday at all because no one would be watching.
Yeah, the very latest I have on this morning from somebody close to the president's team is that they expect that they will be in session on Saturday. It'll be short, probably a couple of hours, and they will wait till Monday to make the bulk of their case.
Okay, John Carl, thanks very much. I know you'll be joining us for our live coverage of the Senate impeachment trial. I'll be anchoring with our political and legal team starting at 1 Eastern this afternoon.